Good morning, this is Pastor Lynn with Goodland United Methodist Church. Our Roman wife continues in sorrow over this child who isn't even her own. Religion has always been little to me except a social observance. The gods have been little except excuses to gather and be what we are, a community bonded by duty and destiny. The festivals were sometimes delightful and many times just a bother. But I will tell you this. As I sat there holding his small limp hand in my own, listening to his weakened cry, watching the life I treasured seep out of him, I began to pray. Though I know not to whom I was praying, or for what, but for whom. There was no destination, no face on the God to whom I lifted my desperation. I knew of no God who cared whether I lived or died, let alone would stoop to touch the life of a slave. But my husband's willingness to go beyond all caution and beyond all social boundary gave me courage that allowed me to confront an unknown with little but my need. There was no time. There was only the trap of death closing in. But time continued to pass. Then I felt something in the room with us. I have no doubt. I know something was there. I felt it like a movement of a breeze through a still afternoon. I felt it in the air and in his hand. I had been holding his hand, and suddenly he grabbed hold of my hand. It was not gradual like a convalescence. One moment he was sick, paralyzed, dying. The next, he sat up, threw his arms around me. He wept, but I think it was because I wept first. He clung to me as if I was the very life sitting before him. I know not who clung more tightly. Again, time was lost. Finally, I had food brought, and he ate. He ate like the growing boy he was. Beyond any hope, he was well. I was terrified. What if the sickness returned? What had been in the room with us? And then my husband came. He came hot and dusty and in a hurry, but only to get there. Once he sat next to me, he was still. The boy was frightened. He had never spoken to the master of 100 warriors, and his master as well. My husband covered his small hand with his own. He told the boy of the one who had healed him. He told him of his power and his willingness to care for a person he had never known or even seen. He told him that in all his days of travel and battle, of seeing so many awful, wonderful things, this was the most amazing. He told him that he, this young boy, was evidence of a miracle. He told him that a miracle could not remain a slave. He told him that we, my husband and I, would adopt him to be our son. He told him to never forget this day of wonder that had turned sickness and darkness into a family. And so it is, on that day, we were all healed.